Doing something a little bit different this time. We're going to do a grab bag, 3 different events, and some nice rapid fire. Let's go.
The following program contains scenes of...
Oh, heaven forbid a guy has a cheeseburger.
Viewer discretion is advised.
This little gem was dropped last night. She was super annoyed that I chose to go to a pub to watch UFC 193 instead of going downtown shopping at Jones for fabric. As she was quacking away, I was just smiling and nodding my head. No woman wants a man who's cocky. It's not sexy or attractive. What's interesting to me though, while I sat at the bar, more than one woman initiated a conversation with me. I have no interest in women, not really interested in having any real conversation as I ate my bacon cheeseburger on a cheat day by myself. A couple questions though to the guys here. Am I doing this wrong? My attitude is, I'm the prize, I make more, I'm better looking, I'd rather not just walk away though, as I'm a strong believer in the institute of marriage. Is this sense of fear that I have inside that I may actually leave my wife for another woman who actually responds to me common? Like, I really feel that my market value has increased and I can hold conversations, I'm pretty smart, I'm the fun, flirty guy. On a recent business trip, the women I sat with on the airplane actually propositioned me with, "Why don't you let me buy you a drink when we land? I know you're married, but who cares?" Every time I try to initiate, she recoils and says she wants to know that I love her for her and not just for her body. We've been in a dead bedroom for almost a year now and a dying bedroom for more than that. Some sort of excuse always comes from her. Now, I know that so many of her excuses are from me being kind of weak and I need to own my shit, but that excuse is so common and it's been the common one for years now. I tried to comfort her into believing that I love her for her, but it's never enough. So how do I respond to this in a red-pilled way? You're right, I just want to have sex with you. It seems like it would just go over like a ton of bricks. Then again, I'm trying to blue pill her into bed and it's not working out so hot either. So you say that ignoring her and working on ourselves helps her to notice, but wouldn't that come off as showing a lack of interest in her and neglecting her? I get the wild self-improvement thing and showing that we don't need her can be seen by other women as attractive, but how far can we take that before she whines and her emotional needs aren't being met and she goes running to the first asshole who compliments her? Alright, so for the first guy, he doesn't want to go to the fabric store, he does his own thing, his girl gets mad, and he's trying to think he's the prize. Is he doing this right? Again, he's just letting his ego get the better of him. He thinks that part of him is like, I could destroy this whole marriage if I'm not careful. Am I doing this right? And he's kind of uncertain of himself. It's kind of the similar thing as when a guy says, I'd love to lift, but I don't want to get too big, thinking that it's just very easy. Girls aren't made of glass. They won't break. You're able to be cocky. You're able to be funny. You're able to hold frame. You're able to say no and say you don't care about going to the fabric store, and it's not going to dissolve your marriage. Other girls are more than happy to talk to you, more than happy to hit on you, and it doesn't really matter. Again, you're not shoving anything into any one of their holes, so what does it matter, right? The girl will get a little anxious, she'll get a little mad, but she's a girl, she's allowed to feel what she wants. In this case, don't let your ego get too big. Just realize at the end of the day, these girls have abundance, and if it's not you today, it's some other dude tomorrow, and you're just not that special. Having said that, if you're the prize, then you shouldn't have second guesses on whether acting like the prize is a good thing. No girl has ever left a guy for being too top tier. And so yeah, if you want to be confident about that, fill your boots. If it ruffles a couple feathers, so be it. I'll tell you right now, it's better than being that guy who's very boring and very safe and never makes his girl uncomfortable. Because she would much rather be uncomfortable with a top tier man than super comfortable with the guy that she thinks she can do better than. And on that note, enjoy your cheeseburger. I do like how he had that small line where he had to let you know it was his cheat day because, heaven forbid a guy has a cheeseburger. Second one here is a guy in a dead bedroom, still thinking about making his wife happy. If she hasn't touched him for a year, then I think the last thing he needs to worry himself about is that. But we'll deal with the obvious question he has here. When she says, I don't want you to just have me for sex, how do you answer that? And I'm surprised he's never heard of being cocky or funny before. It's like almost a go-to script for a guy. If a girl says, do you just like me because of sex? You can say, no, you make good sandwiches too. The idea is you don't take it seriously and they don't take it seriously. A lot of what a girl says, especially when there's like emotionally charged intent behind it, is her fishing for information. She feels something, she doesn't know what it is, and so she uses her mouth to help her parse the information. In this case, she throws out a thing. I'd argue it's mostly a comfort test, which is weird because I don't think she deserves it at this point. If he's had dry dick since before the pandemic, then what's the point? But if you want to respond to that, just let her know, no, that's completely ridiculous and you're being silly. But you can't just say that, because that's what somebody who's lying to her would say. So instead, you just show her that it makes no sense. No, I like your sandwich skills too. And it diffuses the situation. But I would say at this point, if he's been in a dead bedroom for that length of time, why are you trying to make her feel more comfortable anyway? If anything, she's made you uncomfortable for the past year, and you wanting to reward that is just a typical example of rewarding bad behavior, and you're only going to get bad behavior more often when you do it. The third one here is the guy talking about ignoring her and working on ourselves helps other women notice. Won't she find it bad? She, her, other women, this, that. Perfect example of frame. So many things you're going to see from the red pill perspective are going to have a completely different connotation depending on whether you have frame or you don't. In the case where you don't have frame, the easiest tell you'll have is when the girl becomes the main character in your story. And in this case, the guy who couldn't even talk about self-improvement without mentioning 4 different girls as the main character in this story. And right there, you just know everything he's doing is for the appeasement of girls. He's treating them as like the woman of Willendorf, a god in his eyes that should never be angered. And this all stems from mental models that were developed from when we were children, usually by flawed parenting models, having us have an adverse fear of rejection. And that anything to make a girl uncomfortable is a sign of rejection and abandonment. When kids were young, parents used to do that because it got kids flying straight, keeping their act together, because nothing terrifies a child more than abandonment because they're useless. They can't handle anything. They can't even make a sandwich. The problem is, because that's such an easy strategy, and so many women are really bad at like proper parenting now, or guys aren't around, whatever reasons you want to throw onto it. Women do that when kids are young. Teachers who are now predominantly female are doing it as well. They use that as their teaching strategies, and it turns out the guy's 18 years old and he's never had anything but girls tap into that fear of rejection to get him to act right. Is it any wonder as an adult he thinks, I want to go to the gym, but I'm worried other girls will think it's cool and this girl will leave me and that fear of rejection is going to happen. It's like, dude, start treating yourself as the main character in your own story, and these questions will look just completely asinine. So my advice, it's not to these guys. These guys have very common problems that pop up during a map. My advice is for you guys, the audience. These problems are normal. Any problem you've ever thought you've had, I guarantee you at least 100 guys have already had it, 50 guys have called them a dumbass for having it, and another 100 guys have already shown you what they did to solve it. These are very, very simple problems, and while you may not have these specific ones, of the 100 different things that guys do in a relationship when they're working on themselves to cause problems or give them doubts, you've probably had 5 or 6 of them. And that's the beauty of this space. 80% of it, you already kind of know, you already know what to do about it, and you got that stuff on lock. It's that 20% you're maybe not sure about, and everybody's got a different 20%. So, typical cavemen, we stick our heads together, clonk them around a little bit, and we come up with our solutions based on what we've already did. So my advice for you, hit the books. If you've had a problem, I guarantee you some other guys had it, and I guarantee you at least 5 guys know what you should do, or at the very least 5 things that don't work, so it's narrowed down what your options are. But you can't go wrong looking out for your own self-interest. So why does this matter for you? Well, I kind of just said that in the advice section. All of this matters for you. The case of the guy who ends up getting cucked by his wife, raising 5 kids who got different hair and eye color than him, the stories of girls divorce raping guys, of billionaires that are losing billions of dollars in divorce settlements, all those things matter to you because they're all tools. They're all in a toolbox. Maybe some of the tools matter, maybe some don't. You could be an electronics guy and you need a soldering iron and lead solder. You could be a mechanic and you need a wrench. You could be a plumber and you need that crescent wrench. You don't know what tools you're going to need, but the larger your toolbox, the more of them you're going to have. And when situations come up that are either unexpected or perfectly predictable, but you just didn't see coming, it's better to have the tools and not need them than to need them and not have them. And if you don't believe me, ask the guys that are spewing pablum right now on Twitter and see how their lives are going on right now. I guarantee you, one's already in jail, so what? So an alternative for this stuff is generally talking and communication. Guys will talk through their problems with their girl, they'll defer to their wives, they'll start doing everything for her, they seek the validation through her, and it ends as predictably as you could think. The girl ends up resenting the guy for putting him in that position of control and power over the situation, even though their control freak attitudes are kind of supplicated a little bit. It makes them feel good, but eventually miserable. And then these guys will end up going to The View or God knows how many stupid magazines and websites out there that are just girls spewing the same pablum. Things that sound good, things that make sense on a surface level as long as you don't look at them and don't have any results behind them. Look at any dating coach. Look at any life coach. Look at any pastor telling you just to man up and do more chores. Heck, I even saw a guy today who was saying, a wife who's too anxious will never ever find you sexually attractive. He didn't word it quite that way, but that's essentially what he said. Basically, do more dishes and maybe she'll reward you with sex. I'm like, come on, dudes. We already know what the alternatives to this stuff are like. The red pill only came into existence because tens of thousands of guys realized I did everything that everybody told me. My pastor told me this, my wife told me that, my sister and mom told me this, even my dad who sits at home all day getting berated by mom told me this, and none of it worked. So unfortunately, things got so bad, I had to turn to a bunch of nerds on the internet who used to be pickup artists who are now finding out that those same skills can help them navigate relationships. So yeah, there's your alternative. On that note though, guys, hope you enjoyed this one. Don't forget, come on in, check out Patreon. We don't charge till the end of the month. See if you like it in there. We're dealing with stuff like this, very individualized, at a personal level. We're swapping notes. It's a great time. I'll catch you guys on the next one. Cheers. Charles Bukowski. Jordan Peterson. Neil Strauss. I like these guys. Add some salt to cover up the bitterness of middle-aged soccer moms and put in the oven for 45 minutes. Optionally, you can take from all this stuff what you want and leave the rest.